Defense Force Commodore shares the latest on the blockade to protect the southern borders from illegal migrants, and Senator Henfield defends the work of Foreign Affairs Ministry under the Minnis administration. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Torino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Thank you so much for joining us. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Dr. Raymond King provided an update on the Defense Force's efforts to protect the Bahamas' southeastern border and plans for their potential deployment and maritime operations as part of the Kenya-led multinational force. At the Northern Caribbean Security Summit Thursday, Dr. King shared some of the strategies being used in the southern blockade.
The blockade is going well. We would have been a part of several interceptions. But apart from the blockade, we have adopted a multi-layered security posture in that if the first layer is breached, we have other assets in between to ensure that no landings occur. Definitely not in the Providence, not in Eleuthera, nor Abaco. Those are the preferred islands where migrants would want and seek to go towards. We had a very good meeting this morning with our counterparts here from the United States, United Kingdom, and Turks and Caicos, where we've all realized that in order for us to be more effective in what we do, we must continue to share the intelligence, but more importantly, form joint operations whereby we are more coordinated.
Dr. King also revealed how the Defense Force is ramping up security in regards to the blockade and repatriation exercises after recent threats of retaliation from armed Haitian gangs who cautioned against international interference in Haiti's politics.
What we're doing now in terms of protecting and blockading our borders is no different from what we will do in terms of our commitment to the support to the multinational security support mission. But in those instances, it's similar to what we did for the most recent repatriation. We have embedded our commandos on board those vessels. We have heightened our level of defense capabilities in the event. If we are faced with hostile action, we'll be able to respond in like kind.
The Commodore also announced that a Defense Force team will be heading to Jamaica for integration training on March 28th in preparation to join the International Joint Task Force when that becomes a reality. The Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Kwesi Thompson, was one of only two opposition members of Parliament afforded the opportunity to contribute to the controversially shortened debate on the Water Skiing and Motorboat Control and Registration Amendment Bills 2024. That was on Wednesday. According to Mr. Thompson, the new fees will have a negative impact on many Bahamians whose way of life depends on boating.
The PLP in July passed a massive increase in boat registration fees. Those increases in fees severely affected many constituents in East Grand Bahama. Many of us have raised, which I consider and many considered valid concerns to the passage of those increase in fees. I represent Sweetings Key, Madam Speaker, which is a fishing village. The only way to get to Sweetings Key is by boat. And just about everyone on the key owns a boat. Water Key, I represent as well. And Water Key the same. The only way to get to Water Key is by boat. Madam Speaker, this bill will negatively affect the lives of those people on both of those keys.
Mr. Thompson criticized the Davis administration for its lack of consultation and rushing the legislation. He described the increase in boat fees as a self-inflicted, devastating blow to the local maritime industry.
The PLP administration recently moved to suspend their rushed increase of fees on recreation and commercial boat owners. Madam Speaker, this calamity that we find ourselves in is the government's own making. These fees were implemented without consultation, ignoring the human impact on small boaters and fishermen and on the cost of doing business, and thus retail prices of marine products sold on average to the Bahamian kitchen table. This is what I call homegrown, self-inflicted inflation. Yeah.
Again, Mr. Thompson and Adrian White, the Member of Parliament for St. Anne's, were the only two opposition members to speak on the bill, which led to an uproar in the House of Assembly by opposition members as government members successfully pushed the bill through regardless. And finally, in this segment, Prime Minister Philip Davis's official visit to Botswana ends today. He and his delegation are on their way back home to the Bahamas. There has been a lot of criticism by the opposition, especially about his trip, including the size of the delegation and the cost of the trip. On Thursday, acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper defended the Prime Minister's travel, touting benefits that Bahamians are getting as a result. He was also critical of the Minister administration for not traveling enough and for what he described as their lack of global political networking. Mr. Cooper took direct aim at former FNM Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Darren Henfield for allegedly trying to conduct his duties as Minister of Foreign Affairs from behind his desk. Well, Senator Henfield did not take kindly to Cooper's shot across the bow. First, he denied Mr. Cooper's accusations.
It puzzles me that Chester Cooper, who's acting Prime Minister of the Bahamas, probably has the record for acting as Prime Minister because the Prime Minister is always out of the country. It baffles me that he continues to repeat an untruth about my travels as Foreign Minister and about my time in office. I traveled in the interest of the security and of the economy of the Bahamas when I thought, or the cabinet thought, it was fitting for me to do so. I didn't travel across the world with large delegations. They're right on that point, feeding chimpanzees and having a jolly at the expense of taxpayers' hard-earned monies. I didn't do that. And so what I want this government to focus on, which is failing on so many fronts, is how do we address these issues of crime at home? How do we address these issues of the way Bahamians are struggling to make ends meet?
Senator Henfield then took the opportunity to point out several areas he believes the government is failing before sharing evidence of his and the FNM's work in foreign affairs.
Whilst in office, by the way, we organized an embassy in Brussels. We managed to get $20 million in grant from the Chinese to help with our development project. We organized a shipwriters agreement, which this government signed shortly after coming in office with the Turks and Caicos Islands to be able to police our waters better. We organized with the Cuban border guard to turn over 3 Dominican fishing vessels, motherships, to the Royal Bahamas Defense Force because we focused on our relationship with the Cubans, knowing that the Dominicans fished in our waters and escaped apprehension by running into Cuban territory. We got $1 million from India, which we earmarked to go into and placed into the building of a shelter and community center in Central Pines and Abaco. We met with the Secretary of State more than twice. We met with the President of the United States more than twice. Me as Foreign Minister, chaired the 50th General Assembly of the OAS right here from here in Nassau. We hosted CARICOM foreign ministers to a meeting right here in Nassau. And so to say we did nothing is nonsense.
That was FNM Senator, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Senator Darren Henfield, refuting claims by Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper that foreign affairs in the Minister administration was not effective. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.